My name is Nora Halden. I am 37 years old, an emergency room nurse, a divorced mother of two, and for most of my adult life, my family treated me like the daughter who could always sleep on the floor. Not because they hated me. That would have been easier to understand. They called it practicality. They called it making room. They called it, Nora, you know how things are? At Thanksgiving, after I had driven 4 hours through rain with my 6-year-old son and 3-year-old daughter asleep in the back seat, my mother opened the front door and said, "Oh, good. You made it. Your things can go in the den." The den had no bed, no sofa, just a hardwood floor, a broken lamp, and 3 old sleeping bags from the garage. Upstairs, my younger sister Marissa and her family had the guest room with fresh sheets, warm towels, a basket of cookies, and the little brass heater my mother only brought out for people she wanted to impress. I stood in the doorway holding my daughter, Lily, against my hip. My son, Owen, looked at the floor and whispered, "Mom, are we camping?" Before I could answer, Marissa came down the stairs in wool socks and said, "Honestly, Nora, you should have booked a hotel if you needed beds." My mother laughed softly, the way people laugh when cruelty feels easier than correction. Then she said, "It is only 2 nights. The children are young. They will be fine." At dinner, Marissa's children ate turkey from my grandmother's forget-me-not china. My children were handed plastic bowls with cartoon ducks on them because, according to my mother, they might drop the good plates. Later, when Owen asked why his cousin got a real glass and he got a sippy cup, my mother patted his head and said, "Because Ethan knows how to behave at a table." My son went very quiet. That was the moment something inside me stopped trying to survive politely. I looked at my mother. I looked at Marissa. I looked at my 2 children, exhausted, cold, and being taught that they were guests of a lesser kind. Then I said, "Pack your things. Babies, we are going home." My mother blinked. "Nora, do not be dramatic." I picked up the sleeping bags. Marissa rolled her eyes. "You always make everything about you." I did not answer, because on the 4-hour drive back to my apartment, while my children slept in the back seat under their coats, I made 14 phone calls. 1 to the historic inn, 1 to the caterer, 1 to the photographer, 1 to the bakery, 1 to the florist, 1 to the rental company, 1 to the quartet, 1 to every vendor connected to the surprise 65th birthday party I had spent 8 months planning for my mother. The party no one knew about. The party that cost $8,247. The party I paid for by working night shifts until my hands shook. By skipping new winter coats for my own children. By telling myself that if I could give my mother one perfect day, maybe she would finally look at me and remember I was her daughter too. By morning, every contract was canceled. By noon, my mother had 98 missed calls from relatives, vendors, and Marissa. By sunset, she was standing outside my apartment holding the canceled invoices in both hands, whispering, "Nora, what did you do?" And for the first time in my life, I did not apologize for taking back what I had given. Let me back up, because no one becomes the floor daughter overnight. You are assigned the role slowly. A little chair pulled from the corner instead of a real seat. A smaller piece of cake because your sister invited friends. A hand-me-down coat because you do not mind practical things. a holiday chore list because you are so capable, a family emergency because Marissa gets overwhelmed, a request that is not really a request because everyone already knows you will say yes. I was 22 when I became a nurse. My father had died the year before from a heart attack in the driveway, and my mother, Helen Halden, folded into grief with one hand and control with the other. Marissa was 19, pretty, fragile, and very good at being worried in a way that made other people rush to help. I was the steady one. That became my name before it became my burden. Nora is steady. Nora can handle it. Nora understands. Nora does not need much. When my father died, I handled the insurance forms. When my mother could not look at the hospital bills, I made the calls. When Marissa said college felt too hard after losing Dad, I helped her withdraw and told everyone she needed time. When I wanted to go to a 4-year nursing program, my mother said, "Community college is more sensible right now." So I did that. Sensible became the fence around my life. I became an emergency room nurse because I understood controlled chaos. I understood walking into a room where everyone was panicking and finding the one thing that needed to happen first. Airway, bleeding, pulse, pressure. Call the surgeon. Start the line. Tell the mother to keep talking to her child. Tell the drunk driver to stay awake. Tell your own hands not to shake until later. In the ER, being steady meant something. It saved lives. At home, being steady meant I could be used without anyone feeling guilty. When I married Carter, my mother liked him because he wore button-down shirts and said, "Yes, ma'am." When the marriage fell apart 7 years later, she told people, Nora chose a difficult path. As if divorce were a vacation package I had selected for the view. Carter did not hit me. People always ask that first, as if bruises are the only evidence that a home has become unsafe. He disappeared into gambling apps, credit card debt, and promises that became smaller each time he broke them. By the end, I was working 12-hour shifts, paying the mortgage, hiding shutoff notices, and telling Owen that Daddy was tired. When I finally left, my mother said, "Marriage takes patience." I said, "So does bankruptcy court?" She did not like that. After the divorce, I moved 2 towns away, then 4 hours away when the hospital in Roanoke offered me a better emergency department position and a schedule that let me keep the kids on my insurance. My mother never forgave me for the distance. She never said it directly. She said things like, "Marissa is the one who checks on me. Marissa knows what I need before I ask. Marissa's children feel like part of my daily life." As if geography were a moral score. Marissa lived 12 minutes from my mother. Her husband, Graham, sold insurance and spoke in that flat, confident tone men use when they have never been interrupted by consequence. They had 2 children, Ethan and Claire, who were sweet enough when their parents were not turning them into evidence. My mother loved those children loudly. She went to their school plays. She kept snacks for them. She bought them matching Christmas pajamas and posted the pictures online. My children received gift cards and envelopes. When Owen lost his first tooth, I sent a photo. My mother replied with a heart emoji 3 days later. When Ethan got a certificate for perfect attendance, she wrote a paragraph on Facebook about pride, legacy, and showing up. Showing up. I stared at that phrase for 10 minutes on my break while a man in room 4 vomited blood into a basin. I had been showing up my whole life. I just did it in ways no one photographed. Still, I kept trying. That is the part that embarrasses me now. Not the love. The bargaining. I kept thinking if I did enough, if I arrived smiling, if I sent the right gifts, if I paid for the right repairs, if I remembered every birthday and never made trouble, my mother would look up one day and realize I had been carrying weight too. The idea for her 65th birthday began in March. My father had always said my mother deserved one elegant birthday before she got too old to dance. After he died, no one mentioned it again. One night after a shift, I found an old photo of them at the Mill House Inn, a restored stone mill outside Harrisonburg, back when they were young, and my mother wore a blue dress with little buttons down the front. On the back, my father had written, "Helen said this place feels like a story." I decided to give her that story, not because she deserved perfection, because I was still her daughter. Because love, when you have been trained badly, can look a lot like overwork. I called the Mill House Inn first. The Saturday after her birthday was available because someone had canceled. The deposit was painful. $3,200 for the room, tables, linens, and staff. I put it on a credit card and told myself I would pick up extra shifts. Then came the caterer. 42 guests. Roast chicken with rosemary, green beans with almonds, potatoes like my father used to make. $2,300. Then the photographer, $500. Then the cake. A carrot cake from the Harrisonburg bakery, my mother once said, made the only frosting worth eating. $350. Then flowers, table rentals, candles, a photo booth for the grandchildren. Handwritten invitations because my mother loved paper that felt expensive between her fingers. A string trio because my father used to play old records on Sunday mornings. The total came to $8,247. I stared at the spreadsheet for a long time. Then I said yes anyway. To pay for it, I worked nights. Not a few, a lot. I picked up Friday overnights, Sunday doubles, short notice flu coverage. A brutal stretch when 2 nurses were out and the waiting room never emptied. I drank coffee that tasted like coins. I slept in 40-minute pieces. I ate protein bars in the supply closet. I missed Owen's library night because a woman coded during shift change and I could not walk away. I told Lily we would get her winter coat next paycheck. Then next paycheck became the one after that. When she asked why her sleeves were too short, I said, "You are growing so fast, baby." That was true. It was also not the whole truth. The whole truth was that I had spent winter coat money on floral deposits for a woman who gave my children plastic bowls. I kept the party secret because surprises mattered to my mother. Also because I was afraid if Marissa knew, she would find a way to make it hers. That sounds unkind. It is also true. Marissa had a talent for arriving late to labor and early to applause. When my mother's water heater broke, I paid half the repair from Roanoke, but Marissa posted a picture of herself standing beside the plumber with the caption, "Taking care of Mom today." When I ordered groceries during my mother's flu, Marissa arranged them on the counter and told our Aunt Connie, "I am trying to keep her eating." When I sent money for property taxes, Marissa said, "We all do what we can." We. That word did a lot of theft in our family. I invited Aunt Connie first. She was my father's younger sister, sharp-eyed, chain-reading mystery novels, and the only person in the family who had ever said, "Nora, you look tired," like an accusation against everyone else. When I told her about the party, she was quiet. Then she said, "Does Helen know what this is costing you?" "No." "Does Marissa?" "No." Connie sighed. "Child, love is not supposed to require you to disappear." I laughed because if I did not laugh, I might cry. "It is just a party." "No," she said. "It is a petition." I did not ask what she meant. I knew. I was petitioning my mother for recognition. Please see me. Please see my children. Please see that distance did not mean absence. Please see that I am not the failed daughter just because my marriage ended and my zip code changed. Please see that I am still here. By November, everything was ready. The invitations were stamped and hidden in my locker at work. The playlist included my father's favorite songs. I had arranged for a slideshow of old photographs. I had even ordered a framed copy of the Millhouse picture with my father's handwriting preserved on the back. All I had to do was survive Thanksgiving. I should have known better. Thanksgiving at my mother's house had always been a measurement. Who arrived first? Who brought the better casserole? Whose children behaved? Who sat closest to my mother? Who was praised? Who was useful? I packed for the trip after a night shift. Owen wore his dinosaur sweatshirt. Lily hugged a stuffed rabbit with one eye missing. I loaded 2 duffel bags, 3 coats, medication, snacks, coloring books, and a pie I had made at 2A. Because my mother once said store-bought crust tasted like laziness. The drive took 4 hours and 20 minutes because of rain. By the time we reached the house, both kids were cranky, hungry, and damp from running from the car to the porch. My mother opened the door wearing an apron printed with autumn leaves. Behind her, the house smelled like turkey, cinnamon, and the kind of warmth that always seemed to stop before reaching me. "Oh, good," she said. "You made it." No hug. No, how was the drive? No, children, come get warm. Just logistics. Marissa's SUV was already in the driveway. Her children's shoes were lined neatly by the stairs. A plate of cookies sat on the guest room dresser. I saw it when I carried our bags upstairs out of habit, assuming we would be there. My mother stopped me at the landing. "Oh, honey, Marissa and Graham are in the guest room. You and the kids can use the den." I turned. "The den? It is only 2 nights. Mom, Lily still wakes up at night. Owen gets leg cramps on hard floors. They are children. They are flexible." Marissa appeared behind her, holding a mug. "We got here first," she said. I looked at her. "You live 12 minutes away." She shrugged. "Then you should have left earlier." My mother said, "Girls, please, do not start." That was how she described unfairness when I noticed it. Starting. The den floor was cold. I laid out the sleeping bags anyway. Owen tried to be brave. Lily asked where the bed was. I said, "This is a sleepover adventure." She believed me because she was 3. That is the mercy and horror of little children. They believe you when you make neglect sound magical. Dinner made it worse. My mother had set the table with her forget-me-not china, the set that had belonged to her mother. At each place was a cloth napkin, silverware, a water glass, and a small handwritten name card. There were cards for Marissa's children. Ethan, Claire. There were no cards for mine. Owen and Lily were placed at a folding card table near the kitchen doorway. Plastic bowls, plastic forks, cartoon cups. Owen looked at Ethan's plate, then at his. Grandma, can I have a plate like that? My mother laughed lightly. Oh, sweetheart, those are breakable. I am careful. Marissa smiled into her wine. Most kids think they are. Graham chuckled. My son lowered his eyes. I felt something in me move. Not break. Move. Like a chair scraping back from a table. During dessert, my mother raised her glass. I just want to say how grateful I am for family, she said. Especially for Marissa, who is always here for me. My rock. Marissa touched her heart. My mother continued. Some people show love by being present. That means more than grand gestures. I stared at the pie I had baked after a night shift. My hands smelled faintly of hospital soap. Lily was asleep against my side because the den had been too cold for her nap. Owen was rubbing his eyes. No one toasted the 4-hour drive. No one toasted the night shifts. No one toasted the fact that I had rescheduled my custody weekend, begged for a shift swap, and spent grocery money on gas to be there. Then Marissa said, Mom is right. Presence matters. I looked at her. She knew. Maybe not about the party, but she knew where to press. The final moment came at 9:40 p.m. I was kneeling in the den, trying to make a